Hello there guys, and welcome to SimCity, Cities of Tomorrow. Why am I doing this? Well, mainly it's because I am testing out a new method of recording, and I thought if I test this out on one of my existing Let's Plays and something goes horribly wrong, then I could lose an episode in the middle of a Let's Play, which I don't particularly want to do. However, of course, if this goes completely wrong, I'll have still been sat here for the last half an hour talking to myself, and then I'll have little or nothing to show for it. So I thought I would do this test on a game I haven't done before. Those of you that have had a look around my channel, you might find a couple of videos about SimCity, which were posted when this game first came out last year. And to be honest, they were public service announcements trying to inform people of some various issues with the game. Now, don't get me wrong, I am a big fan of the SimCity franchise. I have played all of the games right from the very original, and I love them to pieces. SimCity 4 probably still being my all-time favourite. And there were a few things with SimCity 5 when it came out that I was a bit disappointed with. I was so excited when I heard the game was coming out, and then there were a few bits and pieces that just didn't live up to what the franchise should have been. And I wasn't complaining about the fact that you could only play the game online. As annoying as it wasn't really a problem to me. And they're even removing that feature very soon, so you'll be able to play the game without having to be connected to the internet. It wasn't the fact that the city plots are quite small and you can't build super mega cities like you could in SimCity 4000. Again, I would like more space to build, but having a limited size to build does provide its own challenges. The main reason that I had issues with the game is down to questionable decisions made by the way that the AI works, particularly when it comes to logistics. Because to get certain resources around your city, the game relies on the AI moving things around. And sometimes they just didn't get there. And when the game first came out, I played for weeks. I put so many hours into this game, and I built 2 or 3 massive cities. And because of bugs, they all just stopped working. They became crippled because the logistics just broke down, and it was impossible for the cities to make money, and they went bankrupt, and power stopped getting where it was supposed to go, sewage and water stopped going where it was supposed to go. And there were so many things with the game that wasn't working, I just stopped playing it, and I hadn't played it since. However, I have been informed that a lot of these bugs have been fixed, and I did get the opportunity to pick up the Cities of Tomorrow expansion pack, so I thought, what a good time to try and get back into it. So what I'm going to do, I haven't actually played with Cities of Tomorrow. I have seen other people playing it, so I do know the sort of things that you can do and the options that are available, but I'm going to create a new game and I'm just going to see what I remember. I'm going to pick one of the fresh regions. I'm going to be playing this game on my own for the most part. I may decide to invite some people later on. It is a possibility. Now, there's a lot of these different maps that you can choose. Some are better than others. Now, the way SimCity 5 works, if you're not familiar with it, is you have regions, and each of these regions has several city blocks. As you can see, if we look at Discovery Delta, for example, there are 16 cities. Now, it's possible for one player to play all 16 cities and just switch between them. Or you can actually invite friends or even have it open to the random public and have many people joining in. You also have great work slots, which is something that cities have to work together in order to be able to build. But the great thing with having cities like this is that you can actually get the cities to work together, which is one of the challenges of having smaller cities. That you actually have to get the cities to work together in order to build the great works and things like that. I'm not sure how much I'm going to do. I think I would like somewhere with more great work slots. So I think I am going to go on to Discovery Delta. Some of the areas look quite interesting. So let's go on to next. I'm going to make this a private region. And we'll just call it Vaultland because why not? So it's private region, though I can invite people if I need to be. Now, as you can see here, we have a number of plots available to us. The little round ones are the Great Works locations. Now, you normally find that the cities are grouped. So these 4 cities here, these 4 cities here, these 4, and these 4. They're all grouped together. And each of them have their own great work slot. As you can see, the yellow represents the rail, the white represents the rail, and the yellow represents the road. I'm thinking this little plot here looks quite nice. There's a lot of tree area there. It's got some coast, it has a rail connection, and it also has a road connection. So does this one, actually. Ooh, choices. They don't have a lot of water between them. I think I am going to go for... No, let's have this one, I think. So what do we have here? We do have a little bit of coal. It's got a lot of water. It's got some decent wind and oil. Let's just have a look at the other one, just to see what we have there. Now, this has a lot of minerals, but no oil. But it also has a lot of water and wind. I still think that one, my first choice, is what I am going to go for. So let's go in there and create a game. So we have Honeysuckle Marsh, and I have 50,000 simoleons to play with. So let us go and generate the land. Now, one of the things that you do really have to be careful with in this version of SimCity is that you have very limited control over the terrain, and it's not like in older versions of SimCity where you just have a massive city that you can make completely flat and build as much stuff as you want to. You're quite limited to the amount of space you have, and sometimes the only way to build something is to knock something else down first. So you really do have to be very careful about what you do. First thing I'm going to do is pause the game so nothing is going on, and as you can see here, we have a map. We do have a little island out here, actually, which I did not know was there before. I'm just trying to... Oh, let's right-click to scroll around. So we've got our road connection, which comes in... Where does the road come in? The road actually comes in all the way over here, and the rail is on this side. So we're going to need to build ourselves a road into the city. So there are various different types of road you can use. Now, these ones here are actually avenues. Now, avenues have a much higher traffic capacity. You can actually upgrade roads. You can see here you've got low-density dirt roads, then you've got a street, then you've got a medium-density street and a high-density street, and then you start getting on to avenues. The problem is you cannot upgrade a street to an avenue later because the avenues are wider. They take up more space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with an avenue. Now, one thing that I will be doing is it's very, very easy to make a city using grids and squares and nice straight lines, but it's really boring. So I'm going to try and avoid doing that and just build for fun. It may not be optimal, but you know what? Deal with it. I don't want to waste a lot of my money straight away building a road, so we're just going to build a nice, simple avenue there like that. Now, another interesting thing, and something you really should take note of, is you want to have as few roads connecting as possible. Because the problem is the more junctions you have, the more intersections you have, the more traffic congestion you end up with. And that is not fun for anybody. Once you start getting those traffic problems, things become a real nightmare. That seems to be snapping to the grid. So I'm going to do that. There will, of course, be some straight roads here. Now, connecting there I probably really shouldn't do because that's another intersection. So what I'm going to actually do is run these streets down here, but I'm not going to connect them right up to the main road here because that will just mean that this avenue will get more congested. And that is the main route in and out of our city. So what we need to do now is zone some areas. Now, zoning areas works pretty much the same way that it did in previous other SimCity games, with a slight difference. You don't just zone an area, zones have to be connected to roads. So you can't just draw a big square and then connect roads up to it. So we've got residential, commercial and industrial. Now, one thing that is worth remembering is you don't have the ability to choose low, medium and high density. It's all based on the roads. So because these are low density roads, it will be low density buildings. One thing that I should have done, which I didn't have a look at, is the wind map. Now, the wind is actually blowing from this direction, which is quite good because what that means is I can actually build all my industry over here and the wind will be blowing the smog and all the nasty pollutants away from the residential. So having the residential where the wind starts is a really good idea, and having all the industry far away from it is an even better idea. So that is good for us. So what we're going to do is we are going to take some residential. And is it going to let me place it down anywhere? Or do I have to be unpaused for it to allow me to do that? Residential zone tool. There we go. Now it's decided it's going to let me do that. So, okay. I think it's still got the mini tutorials on, just because it's on a bit of a different server that I was playing on before. So I'm going to draw the zones around here. And what will happen is people will automatically start to move in. We will have some across there. Now people are also going to want to have a little bit of commercial as well. So we're going to get that started by running some commercial along there. Now zoning is free, so there's nothing to stop you just zoning stuff up. So for example, if I wanted to put some commercial across there, I could do. Very easy to get rid of later on if you decide that you don't want to have it. Now obviously we need facilities. Several things that we're going to need. We're going to need power, we're going to need water, and we're going to need sewage. Now water is usually quite an easy one to do. We can start with a simple water tower. Now the hydro pumping station is one of the Cities of Tomorrow. It's basically just a futuristic version of the water tower that makes everywhere a bit more high tech. Don't want to worry about that too much now. So as soon as I select the water tower, we can see the water map, and the dark blue represents the area where there is a lot of water. Now, you do have to connect these things to roads. Again, like everything else, everything has to be connected to a road. So if I plop it down here, and it is actually called plopping, you can actually see that the water will now travel under the road. So you don't have to bother with water pipes and power cables like you used to in previous versions of SimCity. The roads actually work as the connections. So we do have water. Now one thing we're going to need is power. Now power should really go over here with our industry. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to think very carefully about the way that I'm going to do this to avoid too much congestion. How much money do we have? We still have a bit of money in the bank. So we could probably build an avenue down there, but it's not necessarily advisable. So I'm going to build a street for the time being. I'm just going to build this street like halfway across the map because I want to try and keep all of my industry for the time being away from my houses. So there's a street that runs miles away. And what we're going to do now is pick power. Now we've got some limited options. We could go for a coal plant, we could go for an oil plant, we could even go for a solar plant, but they are quite expensive. So we're going to go for wind, because at the moment wind is relatively cheap. And the wind's not bad, 11 miles per hour. So we're going to plop that down there. Now a lot of these buildings you can actually upgrade. So if I was to click on the power plant and go to this little button here, the edit button, you can see that I have various options. I can extend this service road out. I can place extra turbines down on these little sort of turquoise coloured snap points. So I can place down extra turbines. There are also larger turbines that provide more power. Some futuristic stuff that we can't get a hold of quite yet. We could plop a sign down just to let everybody know, hey look, this is the power plant. Completely pointless because putting these signs down does absolutely nothing apart from costing you 200 simoleons, but there you go. Now it's currently closed, it's hiring, it needs people to work there. Generating no power at the moment because there's nobody to work in it. And you can see the red line, which is where the power connects up. We also need sewage, of course. There's going to be a lot of poop, and we need to get rid of that. So what we're going to do is we are going to look at the sewage. Again, limited for options at the moment, mainly by cash and technology. So we are going to have a sewage outflow pipe, and all that is going to do is pump all of the nasty stuff that comes from the houses into a big nasty pile. Okay, let's have a look. How's the power plant doing? Power plant now has workers at least. Let's look on power. Yep, we now have an excess of power. Still getting notices about underpowered buildings because the power is still working its way along the road, but we can hear power coming on. Houses are getting their electricity. Fantastic. Now we are short of industry. We don't have any industry at all. So we are going to build a little down here. So let's get a couple of roads again with the road tool. Let's go for low density again. So don't want to build it too close to the power station because I do want to have some space to expand there later on should we need to. Now I did say about having as few junctions as possible, but this place is going to be fairly out of the way, so it doesn't matter too much. So let's zone ourselves a little bit of industry. Don't need too much. And there we go, we have ourselves some industry. We've got people moving in. Now, one of the things that did annoy me as far as AI goes is what is called the agent system. And this is the way that the little sim people get from their houses to their job. Now, it's not like something like Banished, for example. If you've seen Banished, it's very, very clever because each individual person has a name. And the people do here. You click on them and it tells you who they are. Trying to find work. But each individual person has a name. But not only does each individual person have a name, they also have a very specific house. And they also have a very specific place of work. Now, it does show you here that each individual house has a different name. But you'll find they change, because what will happen is, when people go to work, people will come out of the houses and head towards the industry where they work. And they will literally go down the street until they find the first available open job. And they will go into it and work it. When that building becomes full, the people will continue on to the next one and go in until that's full. And then when people finish work, they will come back and they will go to the residential area. And they will go to the residential area until they find the first empty house. And they will go and live in that first empty house. So every time people leave their house and go to work and return, they swap jobs and they swap houses. Which is, I understand why it's been done, but it's a little bit silly and isn't brilliant, to be honest. So as you can see, a few more things we're getting. We're now getting less of a demand for low wealth residential, and we're getting a bit more of a demand for the medium wealth residential. Now, there are ways to increase that by increasing the land value, as you can see here. If we click on that, they want us to have a town hall. We are going to put a town hall down. We have been waiting for that. So place your town hall. Now the town hall is useful because it allows us to add several upgrades to it later, which give us the ability to add extra things to our city. Now obviously if I put it there, it's going to limit being able to add anything onto the back because it's a little bit too close to the wall there. So I'm going to pop it on this side here, which will give us a bit more space later on. Now it does provide happiness, so putting it down in the middle of a residential area isn't a terrible idea, but we are going to build around it. So we'll put it down there, and we see plop. It is a valid term. We have plopped the town hall. Closed in hiring, and they're happy that I have done that. So how are things progressing so far? We can rename our town. So let's do that. I know I'm not very original for names, but at least we've changed it. So how are things progressing? We're making 125 simoleons per hour, which is good. So we are in the positive. Our people are mainly happy, and we're at 294 population. Let's speed things up a little bit now. We've still got some residential areas here that have been allocated, but so far haven't been used. What is he going on about? Not enough freight procedures. Commercial businesses not getting enough freight. Zone industrial, so we can ship freight to shops. Well, we have zoned industrial. But unfortunately, what I've done here is I've probably built them too close together, because there's not enough room for anything else to spread on this side. So what I'm going to do is get my little bulldoze icon. I'm going to get rid of these roads here and put another road in, but a bit closer to the power plant. Wanted to leave room for the power plant to grow really, but sometimes you just have to do this. So let's just go and fill that in. And we can go the other side of the road as well, to be honest. So there we go. We have a little bit more industrial. That should keep them happy. Now you can see we're getting all these little pop-ups, which are little missions to do. Here's one here. Really enjoying it here in Vaultville. We have a vibrant and diverse city. Okay. Wish there was a place to get in touch with our spiritual side, like a temple, church, mosque, or a modern temple. Okay, so we'll get 1,000 simoleons for putting down some sort of religious buildings. That's not a problem. Right, let's try and remember where the religious buildings are, because I don't think they were in the original game that I played. It's not education. What are they under? Might be under city specialization. That's obviously mining, drilling, trading. Where are we? Gambling, Mega Towers, the Academy, and Amiga Corp. Okay, so culture. Would it be under culture? Worship. There we go. So we can have a church. And they're free to place as well and don't actually cost us any money. Modern temple. These are the sort of futuristic buildings. Look at that. That is brilliant. But what we're going to do is take a normal church. just for the time being. And we're going to pop it right down there. And that will start to make some people happy. Hasn't made these people very happy that there's a church near them. I don't know why. Some people just aren't happy with anything. Now we can look on houses, and the houses will show you what the land value is and also what the density is. As land value increases, you will go from sort of poorer people up to medium wealth and rich people. And that's usually done by the sort of things that are around in the area. So when you start placing things like parks and sort of recreational areas, that increases the land value, which will increase the house value. Density is usually increased by a combination of happiness and also the density that the roads can support. So we've managed to do that. We have placed ourselves a church. Now he wants to have 80 low wealth Sims attend a house of worship in a day. Should be doable because we have 432 Sims now, so we are starting to grow. Some interesting looking buildings around here. Now, there are a couple of mods and things that you can install with SimCity, and I meant to install one of them, which I haven't done, but it's actually quite a useful one. And it's mainly for the industry. What it allows you to do is when you actually click on an industry building, it tells you the density and it tells you the tech and education level that it requires. But different industries actually require different numbers of medium, low and high wealth people, and it doesn't actually show you that, but there is a mod which was created by one of the programmers from Maxis, and he's actually made a mod that you can install quite easily, and it allows you to see exactly how many of each type of wealth citizen that the building requires to work. Now these aren't doing particularly well down here. It doesn't actually say why though. They're not particularly happy about something. As you can see, the sewage is pumping along. We can go to our city and we can have a look at the poop map. And you can see all this nasty brown sludge glugging its way from the houses and just basically being spat out into a big nasty pile. Good stuff. But we've got plenty of excess sewage treatment. We should get an Amiga Co factory. It practically prints money. So there are various specializations. Let's get rid of the poop map. There are various specializations that a city can have, and they're all down in this little list here. So we went through them earlier. You can see we can have mining, we can have drilling, we can trade, we can go into electronics, we can go into culture or gambling, we can go into Mega Tower. Well, Mega Tower's the Academy and Amiga Co. These things are part of the Cities of Tomorrow expansion. Mega Towers allow you to have these huge futuristic towers that you can just build up and up. They're very Blade Runner-esque. I mean, they do look amazing, although these sort of normal mega towers do look a little bit sort of post-apocalyptic. They're a little bit strange, a little bit messy. If we go to these elite mega towers, these are very, very futuristic. Very reminiscent of some of the buildings in Anno 2070, if you've played that. They've got a really nice aesthetic to them. And you can actually build residential and commercial layers all on the same thing, so they are quite good. Then we've got the Academy. The Academy is used to control all of the futuristic buildings in the city. So it's a little bit like Skynet from Terminator. It pretty much controls everything. And then we have the Amiga Co, which is basically a big, nasty, smelly conglomerate that makes lots and lots of money, but it doesn't really do an awful lot to increase land value and things like that. However, we could potentially get it. All we need to have is one more industrial building. The headquarters requires a fair bit more. What do we need for the Academy? 5 high wealth residential buildings, which we don't have any at the moment. Now the good thing is you can actually switch between specializations. You're not limited to having to do just one, so that does give us another option. So I think what we will do actually is we will have a little more industry just to give us the option of doing that later if we want. So going to zone some more industrial, and let's just put it down here along the back of this street. That'll get us some more industrial buildings. We've still got a bit of a call for medium wealth civs. So medium wealth civs? We've been playing Civilization too much. Some medium wealth sims. So I think what we're going to do is we are going to build a street, and we might end up knocking some commercial down by doing this. But we're going to build off from the back of these houses here. And we're going to build around the back of the town hall. There we go. That should give us some space. So let us build now some more housing. So of course we don't actually have the ability here to say that this housing is high wealth or low wealth or what type of wealth it is. So you're going to let me do that? Yeah, good. But what we can do is we can take something like where are we? Parks. And as you can see, we have various different options. We have basic, which is low wealth. We have sports and nature, which are medium wealth. And we have plazas and formal, which are high wealth. So if we want medium wealth citizens, we're going to have to put down some medium wealth features. So we could take something like a pond, and you see it has this little green sphere of influence. And that represents how many houses it will actually sort of have influence over. So let's just pop it down there in the middle of those. You can see all the little smiley faces come on, and that will start to increase the potential wealth value of these houses. As you can see, the land value has already increased into the medium wealth area. How are we doing with this? Well, we have had over 80 Sims attend a house of worship, but we've not managed to have 80 attend in a single day. Maybe tomorrow will be the day for that. So we do have enough buildings now to be able to have the Omega Co. I mean, I've never built it before. This is my first time playing Cities of Tomorrow, so I think I'll do it just because I haven't done it before. I've got to try it. I mean, we do have more than one city. This is the great thing with having a region with multiple cities, is you can actually specialise different things in different cities. The industry is not particularly happy at the moment. Business is okay here, but they're not particularly telling us why. We could increase the density, but it's not going to make any difference upgrading the roads because they're not happy yet, so nothing is going to happen. Now, there are other things that we are going to need to get the city up and running, of course. We are going to need things like fire and police and health and stuff like that. Though we haven't particularly had any disasters at the moment, we don't need to put everything down straight away. We are still good for the time being. We're getting complained a little bit to look at zoning. What is he telling us? Industry ships, freight to commercial buildings, the trade depot or trade port, zone more commercial or build a trade depot and add freight consumers. So we've got a little bit more of a demand for commercial now because we've increased our industrial somewhat. So let's have a little bit more commercial. We'll run that down here. Should be enough. We've now had 80 low wealth Sims attend a house of worship. Obviously, these people down here are happy that we have placed some more commercial zoning down. There we go. 80 low wealth Sims attend a house of worship in a day. Let's have a look. We've actually had 90 people. 46 yesterday, 90 people today, so that's 1,000 simoleons for nothing. We're still making 1,255 simoleons per hour, so we've got a fair bit in the bank. We've got a petition passed through to get a gambling house. So we don't have any bonds going at the moment. We can actually afford to raise taxes a little. I think you can go up to about 11% before you start to really upset people. And it will all help. You can see we've got a very useful breakdown here of all of our income and our outgoings. What starts to get expensive is when you start to get things like police stations and fire stations and stuff like that. That really starts to eat away at your money. One thing you will notice about this game is you do have a lot of data maps. I mean, you can basically look and see the happiness map, so you can see where the people are happy. Not too sure why these people aren't particularly happy. You can see building density. You can see population, where the most people live. You can see where the residential areas are and the commercial areas are. You can see power, who's got power, who hasn't. You can see where the water is. You can see where all the ground pollution is, the sewage map. It's not too bad at the moment. The ground pollution is pretty clear everywhere, which is nice. We are going to start to get garbage. So we are going to need to get the waste disposal up and running soon. We've had no fires yet. Health is pretty good across the board at this point. Don't think we've had any crime, which is all good. We've got no education here, of course, so we are going to need to get some schools up and running. And we've got things like germs, pollution, ground pollution, wind, radiation, mass transit, resources. There's no coal. Well, there is a little bit of coal. We've got some coal here, but probably not enough to worth mining. If it was worth mining, it's pretty useful actually, because it is right next to our industry and the wind's blowing in this direction, which is good. We don't have any ore here. We noticed that when we picked this particular map. Oil, there's quite a lot of oil here, but the oil is right in the middle of our residential area, so we probably won't end up drilling for oil, although we could put a little well in here at some point. And then you can see all things like trade, which we don't have going on at the moment, and tourism, and all of the other extra stuff there. So there's a whole myriad of different things, different data that you can get to have a look at. There's an awful lot going on within this game. So how are we doing? I'm doing so well in this town, I think I'm going to be renovating soon. Now that is the first indicator that this house is likely to upgrade to higher wealth. As you can see, the wealth of the area is increasing, so this house will probably soon get knocked down and become a posher house. As you can see, the lower wealth residential houses are just these little sort of almost shack-like things and little caravans, whereas the medium wealth are these little nice houses. So, more jobs. We are short of jobs, which means we need a little bit more industry. Don't want to put too much industry down. Although we can now afford the Omega Co factory. Omega Co wants to help you make a fortune. Manufacture Omega from crude oil and raw ore. Amass piles of simoleons and you can convert factories and shops in your city and the region into Omega Co franchises. Now the problems we've got is it does need oil and ore. Well, we've got no ore here. We could get oil, but we're not going to have a lot of it unless I'm willing to put an oil derrick right here in the middle of my residential zone. So I'm not necessarily sure that I want to be able to do that. Manufacture Omega from crude oil and raw ore. Of course, you can import these things in. It's quite possible that we could have another city somewhere with a different specialization. How big is this thing? It is quite sizable. So let us place it. See if we're starting to get close to the residential if we place it there. But let's pop it here anyway. Let's see what happens. Petition to build crude oil storage lot approved. And of course we've got things that we can add on to this. We've got production lines, they're quite expensive. We've got drone assembly lines. We've got a VTOL pad. Wow, got a lot of stuff. I mean, I've made a mistake already because what I've done here is I've built it quite close to this side of the road. So I'm going to struggle to be able to build things here. But we'll see how it goes. Like I said, this was done as more of a test just because I wanted to get back into playing the game. And, well, you know, if it doesn't work, we will do something else. But, wow, that's making a lot of noise already. That doesn't look particularly safe, standing that close to something that's going up and down like that. But anyway, I think I have waffled on for long enough. As I said at the start of the... Wow, just before I just carry there, look, these guys have actually upgraded their sign a little bit, I think. They're starting to look futuristic because of this guy. It's because this is a futuristic building. So it starts to make all the things near it become futurized. If you actually look at the road, you can see that the road has actually changed into one of the futuristic roads with the futuristic lights. And we're starting to get futuristic traffic as well. That is actually quite cool. But anyway, I have waffled on for long enough. So, as I said at the beginning of the video, this was just done to be a bit of a test. If you guys want to see more of this, though, by all means, let me know. Either give it the thumbs up or leave a message in the comments. And, you know, I can quite happily record as I am playing because I think I'm going to enjoy getting back into this. So, until next time, I've been Unstable Voltage. This has been SimCity and Cities of Tomorrow. I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.